I think we can all agree that Season 20 was the best season of CGI Thomas. It did a great job at keeping true to both the Railway series and early model series while putting so much focus on side characters. There are some really great episodes from the season like Love Me Tender, All in Vain, Ryan and Daisy, Bradford the Brakeman, the Glenn episodes, but there is one episode that does get brought up a lot when people talk about this season, but no one truly talks about how revolutionary it is. Diesel and the Ducklings is a wonderful episode. Everyone's perfectly in character, the moral is gently massaged in, and there's not a single trace of missed opportunity. Wait, what? That's not the right episode. Damn it. Henry Gets the Express is quite possibly one of the greatest episodes of the entire series. I remember being very happy with it when it first came out, but as I've gotten older and more experienced when it comes to noticing good screenwriting, my opinion of this episode has significantly changed. This episode does a great job at keeping everyone perfectly in character. The CGI series is notorious for butchering these characters, but this one is different. Thomas is a cheeky little shit, Sir Topham Hatt is an actual authority figure, and Gordon is grumpy and pompous, but not too much where it feels unrealistic or pandering. He feels very down to earth throughout the entirety of the episode, and his big freak out at the quarry feels natural. But undeniably, the best part about this episode is Henry. I am still in awestruck at how well he was handled here. Ever since Season 7, Season 8, Henry hasn't really felt like Henry. He was reduced to always being sick or worried, which is totally out of line when compared to him in the Railway series in the first 5 or so seasons. He had a few good moments, but it wasn't until around Season 17 where we finally got to see some change, which didn't last very long. This episode hits even harder when you consider that we've just come off the cusp of Henry Spots Trouble and the Beasts of Sodor, 2 of his worst roles to date, and then we see this episode where he's very confident, happy, and wise. The only instances where he acts somewhat worried are when Gordon is disregarding him and when he first takes the train, but those moments are so small and actually feel realistic. Henry hasn't pulled the express for a while, so of course he'd be a bit scared, and anyone would feel upset if they were told they weren't good enough to do a job. As cynical as it may sound, I love how much of a threat Henry poses to Gordon. He's actually nice to the passengers and does his work without fuss. This makes the stakes actually feel believable and unforced. Deep down, I think Gordon knows Henry's better at the job than he is. So yeah, in terms of characterization, this episode excels greatly. Everything the characters say and do makes sense for their personality, and they finally don't feel like talking advertisements. This episode isn't only great because the characters are perfect. The animation, for one, is spectacular. Look at these sunrise scenes. They are a thing to marvel at. The colors throughout the episode, and really the entirety of this era, are very vibrant, but don't look too shiny or toy-like. Henry with the Express coaches is such an aesthetic, and I really wish we got to see that more often. The music is also very nice and subtle. The newer episodes have very fast-paced music, and it plays throughout the entire runtime. The problem with this is that it doesn't give the viewer a break. It's just constantly playing the entire 7 minutes, whereas here, the music is very soft and calm, and it reflects how the characters are feeling without being too annoying. This was the first season where Chris Renshaw composed music, and he does a very good job with his original tracks while also reworking some of the themes from the old series. They're so subtle that I didn't even notice until recently. The humor is also on point.
Express coming through!
But that's my line.
That's so useful! That's so strong!
Oh, do be quiet!
We'll give you quiet!
And then they let their brakes slip off again.
Ignore him, Henry. Gordon just likes to think he's special. Gordon asked me to tell you that he's going to be late because he's having his firebox cleaned out.
His firebox? Now? Oh!
James found the flying kipper very difficult when he pulled it.
I did not. It was just smelly.
I think you'll find I'm much bigger and stronger than James. I was never meant to do work like this. It's beneath me.
Then you're gonna love this!
Filthy coal cars!
Sorry.
Oh, the indignity!
I only asked how his day was going.
Ooh, you do smell a bit fishy, Gordon. Maybe you should think about getting a wash down first.
Stinky Express coming through!
Dignity.
Additionally, I really love the variety of locations and characters we get to see. In the Miller era, it was very rare to see someone outside of the Steam team in the main diesels, but here we see Salty, Porter, Cranky, and friggin' Scarloey and Rheneas? The wide cast of characters makes this island feel so big and expansive. The only thing I wasn't crazy about with this episode were the amount of references. I'm usually a hit or miss when it comes to referencing the old series, and one done right, it's almost unrecognizable.
Come along, puffed Percy. No nonsense. We'll give him nonsense, giggled the freight cars.
And I'll have none of your nonsense. Thank you very much.
We'll give him nonsense.
However, some of them, such as the Edward and Gordon or Thomas and the Jet Engine references, kinda stick out like a sore thumb, but those don't detract from my overall score because I really appreciate that these writers actually remember the old series, and after 8 seasons of not paying tribute to the books or older seasons, it can be really nice to hear those classic lines. When I think of Helen Farrell's Thomas episodes, this one always comes to mind. She did such a great job when it came to writing interesting character dynamics and keeping everyone in line with their personalities. Most of the time. Everyone always says how good of a writer Andrew Brenner was, but his misses really missed, and Helen never struck out. She was, in my opinion, consistently the best writer the show had had in over 15 years. I can't stress how much I adore this episode. It's funny, heartwarming, and that feeling of triumph for Henry stays with you the whole time. Too bad he was never seen again. Oh, curse you, Big World Big Adventures! If I could frame a Thomas episode, I'd probably frame Duncan Gets Spooked, Busy Going Backwards, Haunted Henry, Ghost Train, Thomas Comes to Breakfast, but this would definitely be the 6th one. Well done, King.